Hello, and welcome to the Long Couch. My name's Carl. I'm joined tonight by Mel.
Dude, quick question for the intro for anybody out there listening. Have you ever eaten something and then when you've finished eating that thing, you're like, I really wish that that's not like the last thing that I had. I wish that wasn't kind of the taste that I ended my meal with. Because I had Taco Bell just a minute ago because I had points, so I got a free chalupa and free Fiesta potatoes, and I finished it up. And I was like, I feel gross. This is not what I wanted. It was just free. And so now I have yogurt trying to cleanse that last taste from my mouth. So that's what I'm up to.
I just had some corn and it's still stuck in my teeth.
Dude, I drove through the Midwest this weekend. I drove to Kansas City. That is an unnatural amount of corn, man. It's just corn for like 300 miles and then a city appears.
We gotta produce enough of it. Corn's in everything.
It's crazy how much is out there. It is insane.
I just attended a wedding that was basically in a cornfield. Anyway.
Dude, I'm not surprised. That's all there is. That's all the land is.
It's all there is in the barren Midwest. It's all corn and Quick Trips.
Yeah, man, the population density is like one person per square mile. It's nuts.
Typical Mel eating and drinking on the show, too. Very professional, Mel.
I'm almost done. I'm almost done with my yogurt. And that tea I need it. It keeps me going.
And on tonight's episode, we will be discussing some weird jobs. If this was a BuzzFeed article, I'd say, here are 10 weird jobs you won't believe really exist.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate as to what that title would be. Are you sure you don't work for BuzzFeed?
I mean, that's my next, that's what I'm working towards, That's my next place of employment.
That's the dream. That's kind of the finish line.
Yeah. So first of all, I got to give a shout out to Charles Moist Critical Penguin Zero White for introducing this topic to me in these first two jobs. There's always something that I watch or something that happens to me that inspires like the topic of every episode. So he's the reason that I went down the weird job rabbit hole, and he introduced these two topics to me. So the first of which is a vape tester.
That's what I'm trying to be. Listen, I saw this video too.
So
I saw the vape testing video.
This is taken from a documentary, I suppose, from Machina. Do they really test every single vape by mouth? So 80% of the world's vapes are produced in the Boan district of Shenzhen, China. And one of the jobs there is to test every one of them. And that can be up to 10,000 disposable vapes per day.
There's a couple things wrong with this, man. First of all, it's fucked up. Listen, when I buy a vape, I agree to the chemicals. I agree to the unknown long-term health effects. I agree to them being bootleg, but I don't agree to somebody else that I don't know putting their mouth on them. That is where I draw the line.
Well, you'll be glad to know that there's a sanitation step after the testing step.
Dude, I know, but I feel like it's a breach of trust, the tight bond that I have formed with these overseas vape companies. And also, dude, I mean, they have got to have like Herculean immune systems here, because I mean, they got to be hitting like record levels of Nixic every day, dude. I mean, they've got like 10 of these things racked up, just popping on each one.
Oh yeah.
Hitting like 5 vapes a second.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty wet.
That's not okay.
So it's one guy, it seems like, at least in this factory, in this documentary, there's just one guy, quality control. He's his own department.
He's the only guy that tests them?
Yes, there's one guy in the whole factory, apparently, from what we saw, and he can test up to 10,000 vapes per day. And I mean, like you said, he's got them racked up in like a bunch of a dozen or something like that. He's just...
He looks very young.
Yeah, well, you got to be, because...
He's going to die at 30 is the thing.
And then they'll get somebody new.
Listen, man, I don't vape anymore. I used to, though. And so I had, I would use the pod systems, and then disposable vapes came onto the market because we hate the environment.
Right.
And those disposable vapes would be like 2,000-3,000 puffs per vape, right? I mean, if you're hitting I mean, and that would take me like a week or two to get down. Like, so if you're hitting 10,000 puffs a day,
I mean,
it's not even that there's something wrong with you. There's something different about you.
he's built different.
You're not a normal person. That's not okay.
A normal person can't hold this kind of job.
No. Like, I mean, I cannot imagine the qualifications that were on that job listing.
Do you have functional lungs? You're hired. And
do you think that over time you develop a sort of technique that is most efficient?
Well, yeah, he has to have some
the
kind
assembly
of
line
technique,
process.
because it's unclear. First of all, what he's testing for, because the vapes are all tested by machines to see that they function, right?
What?
But then after that, they get to him, and then he also tests them. So what is he testing them for exactly? The human element for the taste?
I mean, you can't replicate the soft yet firm grip of human lips on a vape. That's not something that a machine can replicate.
Some sex toy manufacturers would say otherwise.
Even then, though, I mean, you can't. Listen. There can be cheap imitations of the human mouth to put. You need
a real human mouth to test these vapes.
That's what I'm saying. There's a certain there's a certain technique and sort of almost a primal action of hitting a vape,
right,
that I think a machine could just never hit.
Of course. So you have to have a person do it, obviously, and it has to be one person as well.
Yeah, no, it has to be one guy doing every single vape for consistency.
So the thing about this specific factory, where like most of the vapes are manufactured, they have like mostly humans and not so much automation because of the variety,
right,
something to do with the variety of different vapes that they're manufacturing. It's more efficient to hire people and have them do it. Yeah. But when it comes to the vape tester guy, they couldn't spare, why not 3 vape testers? Why not 5? Let's split up these vape hits among different people.
Yeah, I feel like I'm being punked, right? Because if you told me, and let's lay out this hypothetical here for the sake of the conversation. If you told me, oh yeah, you know how all of our vapes are made overseas in China, all of our disposable vapes, they actually test those by mouth. Like, people hit those to make sure, for some sort of quality control, make sure they're functioning properly. I would be like, that's weird, but you know what? That's a believable thing to tell me. It is believable to me that vapes are tested by people before they are sent out.
Mm-hmm.
It is a little less believable to me that it's just one guy.
Yeah.
That is testing all of the vapes.
It seems like this guy has to test all of them. It's not like 1 per 100 vapes he tests.
Well, I mean, yeah, you've got to make sure only the utmost quality for the paying customers.
And just as a little side note at the end here, he also smokes and/or vapes in his free time. So he's basically working around the clock.
I mean, so you know how some optometrists don't recommend getting LASIK? It's like, oh, this is a procedure that it comes from the field of optometry, but the actual eye doctors aren't getting LASIK. That's kind of what I thought it would be. Like, when I came home from a long yet fulfilling shift being a line cook at Olive Garden, I didn't want to cook anything.
Yeah, you're not going to go home and make pasta and endless breadsticks.
No, fuck that. I'm going to microwave something or buy food.
Right.
It is insane to me that this guy tests 10,000 vapes a day. Or let's say he's 5,000 vapes in. He's about halfway through his shift, which is, 18 hours, of course. And he gets his 30-minute lunch break, and he's like, oh man, I just need to, it's been a tough day at work. I need to kick back and relax for a minute, and starts hitting his own vape.
Right. You think he's like,
I need to relax.
He'd want to be done with it and just go breathe some fresh air for a while.
Well, he needs something to take the edge off.
Yeah.
So he
should drink alcohol
pulls out his vape. Yeah. He should just drink.
Yeah, do something else. All right, next up we have professional baby namer. So there's this video on the New York Post that says, I'm a professional baby namer. Rich parents pay me $10K to do it for them. And so there's this...
Another thing that I just don't believe.
Well, believe it. It's real. So this woman named Taylor A. Humphrey apparently blew up on TikTok at the time for being a professional baby namer. And basically,
self-described professional baby namer. That's self-described.
self-described.
Is doing a
Well,
lot of heavy lifting.
I mean, if that's what you do and you get paid for it, then I would say that's a pretty accurate description.
I guess that's true.
So
that's not.
She offers consultations to expecting couples and provides a curated selection of potential names. And at 33 years old, she's helped name more than 100 babies in 2020 alone, raking in more than $150,000.
See, I understand that maybe the lucrative element of this is, hey, it's rich people. They don't know how to do normal people stuff like having kids and caring about them and naming them. So they're just going to pay. You know how you see a video of a rich person and they're like, "What's a banana cost? One banana is like $10, right?" It's like the same thing. It's like taking advantage of their, I think maybe naivety to the price of things.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you convince somebody, "Hey, I'll name your kid," if you don't know how to? Because obviously, you've made it through this far in life, not on your intelligence. And if you don't know what to name your baby, pay me 10 fucking bands. And I'll Google popular baby names, So if you don't know what to name your kid, the easiest thing in the world, if you're really at a loss here, the easiest thing in the world is just take like a grandparent and be like, all right, time to honor this person.
You could, but then you'd have a boring name that, doesn't really say anything about you or your child. You want to make an impression.
Listen, because of that very line of thought, my middle name ended up being Melmige. You can get some good results.
So clearly, professional baby namers, they found a market. They found a problem that existed, and that was people don't know what to name their baby sometimes. Or
did that problem exist?
That problem does exist, and the problem is that only rich people with more money than sense will pay other people to solve this problem. See, most people, when they encounter a problem of that caliber, they think, okay, well, let me just go Google it. I'll figure it out myself. I'm not going to pay somebody. I'm not going to involve a third party to do something simple like this because that thought wouldn't even occur to me.
Yeah, because I'm a person.
But if I'm a millionaire and me and my wife cannot settle on this baby name, I'll just pay somebody, a third party, to say, here's some baby names I came up with, and then that just takes the impetus off of me. And I feel like that's the core of this, is that people, they couldn't decide. They were arguing, and they said, okay, let's get a third neutral party in here. They'll come up with the baby names, and then, we don't have to bicker like this. And what?
Yeah, but what if they come up with a name that you don't like?
You give them another $10K, and they'll spin the wheel again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, they'll go back on Google, and instead of choosing the top 10 most popular baby names, we'll skip to 10 through 20 and kind of see how that lands with you.
Because apparently she meets with the couple, it does some kind of Zoom call and learns a bit about them, and then she calculates all that into some sort of algorithm for naming babies, and comes back and says, here's some potential names, and here's why I think they'd fit your baby, and why I think they fit your personality, and yada, yada, yada. And presumably they pick one of those.
I like the idea of naming a baby based on a sort of general assessment of the parents, like as an outside third party. It's like, oh, so you're a structural engineer, primarily working with dams. How about this? How about we name your baby Hoover?
That actually sounds like something she would come up with, yeah.
Well, exactly. It's like, cool, I'm a third party. I know nothing about these people. Let's just get some surface level information and kind of go from there and see how that goes.
Or she might be like, this name is really trendy right now. Let's go with this name.
Yeah. For me, I would get assessed, and 10 years later, I'd be like, oh, meet my son, Focusrite.
I've already decided on what my son's name is way ahead of time, so I don't need to hire this person. My son's name.
What's your son's name?
My son's name is going to be John Carl, which is just a flip-flop of my first two names.
But you told me I was being lazy for that. And then you go and name your hypothetical not yet born son John Carl.
I don't recall accusing you of being lazy. Roll back the tape. Okay, next job is a professional cure. These next couple jobs are going to be from Career Addict's 10 Weirdest Jobs in the World and What They Pay. So a professional cure, which I'm 90% sure Career Addict is like a total AI channel or something like that. I don't know. but they gave me some
probably.
good examples of weird jobs.
How do you know they're real?
I don't.
I'm going to be fact checking.
This is why I
all of
put my
these
sources in
jobs.
here, because if I end up spreading misinformation, I could say, well, I didn't just make this up. I got it from somewhere else.
Shift the blame somewhere else.
Exactly. So a professional queuer, of course, that you get paid to stand in line. And this is something that if somebody has more money than sense, or, they just don't have the time to stand in line for the new iPhone, they've got the money. They can buy the new iPhone, and they can also pay somebody to stand in line for them, because time is money and they've got more expensive things to do.
Okay, I will give it to you. This is a thing that exists.
Are you under the impression the other two don't exist?
Well, no, I'm just, it's important to fact check our sources to make sure that we're not lying.
Right. I would never just do some hurried research by looking at YouTube videos and a single source inquiry.
We hold ourselves to a much higher professional standard on the Long Cow.
Right. I've got a bibliography at the end of this episode.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't always go to YouTube videos to find. Sometimes we go to the Wikipedia page and kind of read the summary at the top and say, damn, all right, we've got it down.
Sometimes I ask ChatGPT to give me examples. I just spit those back out.
Dude, ChatGPT is so last year. You should be grokking.
I should be grokking it, yeah.
You should be grokking it,
I don't know if I want to pay for that, though.
Every day. I say, well, here's the thing. $8 very small dollars for the opportunity of a lifetime to have a premium subscription to X.com.
I guess you're right. That is just the cost of one cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's just it's just the cost of one banana. For $8 a month, the cost of one banana, you could be grokking it every day.
Okay, good point. I'm going to get my grok subscription right away.
Get your grok on. Yeah, I say, grok, is this job real?
Is a professional queuer real?
And then grok says, oh shit, what is the grok is like funny. Elon Musk wanted it to be funny, but it just ends up saying like Rick and Morty lines. I don't know.
No, that's what he thinks is funny. So, anyway, Mel,
it sure is.
How much would somebody have to pay you to stand in line for 12 hours?
12 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that's a long time. Let's just break it down to an hourly rate. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to make it easy on us. I would probably not. And listen, I get standing in line is not doing much. It's not a very laborious process, but time is money. And 12 hours is a long time. I don't think that I would do it for less than like 17, 18 an hour.
$18 an hour?
$18 an hour to stand in line and do nothing.
Wow. Not bad.
You know what? And I'll even round down and I'll say a solid $200 for 12 hours.
Okay. Because
in my mind, I could just be working like my own job.
Right.
And making more money. Right. So I'll take a pay cut if it's just me standing in line doing nothing.
You'll take a pay cut to do specialized work like standing in line?
Well, yeah, no, listen, I don't want to be reductive of or diminish the hard work that goes into kind of being a sort of professional in the workspace when it comes to standing in line. I get it. I don't want to step on any toes. But yeah, I'd take $200 to stand in line for 12 hours.
Well, Mel, you should know that anybody who has money to pay for this kind of activity can definitely afford to pay you more than $18 an hour or whatever.
Yeah, well, if you want to point me in the direction of somebody that is looking maybe to find a personal line stander, which is what Wikipedia calls them, then listen, point them in my direction.
Somebody wants you to wait in line and for 12 hours to get the new pair of shoes, whatever's the hot new pair of shoes. All right, you got to be out there saying $200 an hour.
$200 an hour?
And they'll say, "Oh well, I make $200, just getting out of bed in the morning. So easy."
That's true. See, I said grok. What do I do with all this excess money that I have? And grok told me, wubba lubba dub dub, invest it all in crypto. And so I put it all in crypto, and now my money essentially makes itself. And so now I can pay people $200 an hour to stand in line.
Exactly.
Because it's nothing compared to my crypto wallet.
All right, next up we have professional bed warmer. Apparently this job can pull you $89 a night. And
What the fuck?
It's caught on to the point where apparently Holiday Inn includes a free 5-minute bed warming to their guests. So that's right.
What?
They want people's beds to be warm when they crawl into them. And I suppose the best way to do that is to have a human person with body heat lay in your bed.
That's not the best way to do that. We're lying to ourselves. Oh, I'm looking this up again. There's no way this is real. There's no way this is a real thing.
Bed warmer. $89 a night just to lay in people's beds for 5 minutes.
I don't believe... Oh my god, this is real. Hold on. What the fuck? This has been a thing for almost 10 years.
Do you think being a fat guy is like a benefit?
Do fat people produce more body heat?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. They
maybe
run a little hotter. They could cover like more of a surface area. Yeah.
This is so fucking stupid. This is dumb.
I'm gonna gain another 100 pounds to become a professional bed warmer. You can't replace that with AI either. Thing. Yeah, that's a human job.
Dude, I have had warm sheets getting into bed. It's called putting your sheets in the dryer after they're washed.
Too much work.
You could get this effect by not... Here's the thing. And I know that this maybe not... I know that this isn't the common take. If somebody that does not me sleep in my bed, I'm going to wash my sheets. That's how it works, right? It's nothing personal against that person. I'm just going to wash my sheets if somebody sleeps in my bed. I do not want just random person. Like, I'm like, oh, what a long day that I've had. Obviously not at home because I'm staying at a Holiday Inn. And... Oh man, I just wish my bed was nice and warm for me to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully it is, because a random stranger has been laying in it for the past...
What's the alternative though? You strip your bed and you throw it in the dryer and then you put it back on all before you go to bed? I don't think so.
I would say that if Holiday Inn is including this free, complimentary, that I would say the staff probably won't have too hard of a time offering a similar service where they put my sheets in a dryer for 15-20 minutes, warm them up, and then put them back on the bed.
Well, that pulls them away from other things, and you're already paying those people to do stuff like that, so why not pay a separate person just to be the bed warmer? Freeze up the rest of your staff.
Still
nobody's
the
stripping
end
the
result
bed.
of this.
And you get like a localized area of warmth in a perfect human-shaped sized crevice.
Okay, but the end result still involves somebody laying in the bed.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? They're fully clothed, presumably.
The body heat transfers easier. The body heat probably transfers easier if you're naked.
That's true.
That's a skin-on sheet contact.
Yeah.
Those clothes really are honestly absorbing some of the heat themselves. And we don't want any of that because we want the sheets to be as warm as possible.
Of course. All right, next up we have fake wedding guest. You can apparently get paid $200 per event to show up to a wedding and act like you know the couple. Just have a good time. Because apparently...
Dude, I'm...
Don't look it up. Don't look it up, Mel. You have to take everything I say on the show at just face value.
Dude, I just can't help it. And this is also real. So I keep being proven wrong.
Right.
Because I looked it up.
It must be some kind of status symbol, I guess, to have a lot of people at your wedding and to appear like you have a lot of friends.
This makes the most sense.
Does it?
Like, somebody standing in line, paying somebody to stand in line for you, actually, that makes sense if you've got the money to burn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that I can see like the average person doing that, right? But fake wedding guest may be a higher bar to cross in terms of being able to shell out the dough, the cash to get it done.
When it comes to
this
weddings,
makes sense.
When it comes to weddings, you're just throwing money out there, Spend.
Yeah.
What's an extra $200 per person for guests?
Yeah, I was at a wedding 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel like a fake guest?
I felt like a true guest because I was invited. But
did you know everybody?
No, I didn't know. I knew exactly 2 people that were there.
Okay, so you probably felt pretty similar to a fake guest. Like, I don't really know everybody here. I'm just kind of here. It's all right. I'll eat the food. I'll do a little dancing.
I mean, I knew the groom.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's like if I'm gonna know anybody, I mean knowing the person getting married is kind of like that's what separates me and a fake wedding guest. That and I didn't get paid to be there.
Right.
So I actually had to drive 10 hours to get there
So
and
you
not
lost
be paid.
money on this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it was.
Sounds
I
like a
should have
bad
been
deal.
paid.
You said, okay, I'll show up for $200. You wouldn't want your
Yeah, if you
numbers to
wanna-
appear low, would you?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to seem like no one's coming to your wedding. But I can see this being done for rich people. I mean, it's already done in other events that are representations of social statuses. You know, people show up to like people are paid to appear at like rallies and
Mhm.
social events. And
That's what I was wondering when I looked
polit-
at this. I thought, does this extend to other events? Like, can you pay somebody to show up to your graduation or even your funeral? Can I pay somebody to show up to my funeral and cry hysterically and try to throw themselves into the grave?
Well, here's the thing that you could do that. And here's the thing: do you pay a lot of people, just a lot of random people, to show up at your funeral, make it seem like you are well known, also adding a bit of mystery to your life, as your family has no idea who these people are? They're like, oh, these are people from all walks of life that we had no idea he was affiliated with or associated with in any way. What an air of mystery surrounds our now dead friend. Or do you shell out that same amount of money all into one high profile
I'll tell you.
person to
I'll
show
tell
up at
you
your
exactly what I spend my funeral money on. I spend it.
What would you spend your funeral money on?
One person gets all hysterical, crying, trying to throw themselves in, yelling up at the sky, "Bring him back, God, bring him back!" And then I have another
take
guy
me instead.
Another guy in a trench coat with an umbrella who stands kind of outside, just like lurking at my funeral. You know, like mysterious in the background. I think that will get enough people talking.
I do agree. I think that those are. See, I would want like Tom Cruise to be there, right?
I'm sure he's going to charge a high royalty fee to show up at your funeral.
Yeah, I mean, but think about it, man. So not only would people be like, "Oh, that's Tom Cruise. Holy shit. How did Tom Cruise? He must have known Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is here at the funeral." I think I even see a tear in his eye. But also, Tom Cruise is a generally personable and very charismatic guy. So, he'd be shaking hands. He'd be comforting, the grieving family members of me. It's not even, he'd be a real class act about it.
I'm sure.
And I think that would kind of up the element of not only having a celebrity there, but having a celebrity that's generally good with people. Would kind of, soften the mood a little bit, maybe even crack a joke, maybe even speak on my behalf.
Well, you better start saving.
Oh, no, yeah. No, my family will be getting nothing in the will because I spent my pension and all the money that I was willing to my family. I spent it all on the Tom Cruise appearance.
Right. And in order to
I didn't
make
even
that
get to meet
money,
him either.
In order to make that money, you're going to have to get a good paying job, like maybe a dog food tester. Apparently, dog food testers can make up to $27.5K a year.
That's not a lot.
It's a lot for tasting dog food professionally.
I mean, why not just have the dogs do it?
Exactly. In my notes for this one, it just says, why? Why does it need to be human approved?
I've tasted dog food before.
And you didn't even get paid for it.
Well, I tasted a dog treat. It wasn't dog food. I can imagine the dry kibble pretty much just tastes like salt.
Yeah.
But a bacon strip, I was giving it to my dog, and I was like, I'm really curious as to what this tastes like, and I'm not going to pretend that I have more. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I have too much pride to try it.
Sure.
And so I took a modest bite of it, and I mean, dude, it was just salt. Like, it was nothing but salt. It was the saltiest fucking thing that I've ever had in my entire life.
Well, maybe dogs' taste buds are different than ours.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know that cats can't taste sweet things.
Right.
So,
maybe dogs are like really resistant to saltiness.
Yeah, or they just fucking love it, man.
That's true, yeah.
But yeah, why not just put the food in front of the dog?
Exactly.
The dog is going to eat the better one.
Uh-huh. The best way to test quality dog food is to give it to dogs.
Yeah, those are your paying customers right there. That's your consumer base.
Right, why would a person at any point in the process need to taste the dog food?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not necessary.
All right, next up we have professional cuddler. So as we all know, we're getting more and more isolated, and sometimes
Yeah.
you just need to pay somebody to come over and spoon you.
Yeah.
And anyway, I'm not even making fun of this because I think this is fine. But it is kind of funny. But you can either be a freelancer cuddler or you can be hired by a cuddling company.
I like the idea of being like an independent contractor cuddler. Like I do freelance. Oh, you're
Yeah.
a professional cuddler? Oh, yeah, but I do freelance work.
Because then, well, if you're going to hire a cuddler to come to your house and like have intimate physical contact with you, you want to know that they're like backed by a company. They're legit. They're not going to come back and rob you the next night or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got to pay all those processing fees.
That's true. But
With a freelance cuddler, a lot of the middleman is cut out.
it's true. Yeah. I suppose you're right. But I mean, just as the title implies, basically you pay per hour just to cuddle people.
I mean, listen, man, I've seen the Reddit threads. You know how Reddit is just the horniest place of all time?
Right.
I've seen the r/ask Reddit is maybe one of the worst places on the internet because it's just a bunch of horny people being like, how does penis work? But there's been a ton of them where it's just like, hey, any sex workers out there, what's the craziest request you've ever gotten? Because it's just horny people looking to whatever. But we've all seen the stories where a sex worker is like, yeah, a guy paid me just to hang out with him. He was obviously very lonely. Sex workers are commonly paid to just go out to dinner with guys and listen to them talk about themselves.
Sure.
Or they're paid for physical intimacy, but nothing in terms of like sexual activity, like they're to cuddle, to whatever. And although everything on Reddit I don't take at face value, I just assume everything on Reddit is fake. The point still stands that like I feel like enough of those stories have been floating around the internet to kind of show that like there is a market for physical intimacy, but not sexual intimacy, and people are willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I mean, because I think most people, the majority of people, enjoy cuddling. The problem is not everybody's got a partner to do that with. Sometimes,
yeah, exactly.
You got to pay, and that's like one of those like human necessity kind of things, human touch. I mean, I hear stories about elderly people who go and get a haircut just to have somebody touch them and maybe to have somebody to talk to during that time.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, I understand. Like, this is believable to me.
Right. And it's believable that there is a large enough market for it for this job to exist.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right. Here's a huge market, and that's Hollywood, movie making. There are a lot of weird jobs involved in making movies. The first of which is a baby wrangler, or maybe a coach. So every time you see a baby in a movie, well, they have to have kind of like an acting coach almost, or like somebody who's kind of like, they handle the baby. They make sure the baby's safe in the environment. Yeah. If the baby needs to emote or something during a scene, they are going to coach them. And the specific video that I watched was some lady who could coach babies to cry just by crying herself, and they would mimic her.
Yeah, man, babies are unpredictable and hard to control. Like this makes sense to me. There's a lot of babies in movies, and you want them to do things.
Yeah, you got to have a professional to actually know how to coach them.
Absolutely, they're probably harder to work with than dogs.
Speaking of dogs, you could also be an animal handler. So commonly in Hollywood, this is used for horses. If you ever watch the movie Nope, that's actually like a key element, is that the main characters are Hollywood horse handlers. So every horse that you see in a movie needs to have one or more professionals just to even be on set to make sure everybody's going to be safe, because obviously animals are unpredictable and can be dangerous, or they could potentially be mistreated on set. But this also extends to weird things like insects. Like you can be an insect handler. Like for the movie, I think Arachnophobia, obviously there's spiders in that movie, and these are like acting spiders. Like they have to be directed by a handler, Like, you want the spider to go over here in this shot? Well, somebody's got to know how to direct spider from A to B, or make...
I guess that's true, yeah.
And I'm sure there's animal handlers for, like, any number, like monkeys, birds, any animal that might appear in a movie is going to have a team of handlers, presumably, or like, oh, there's like whole firms in Hollywood that just deal with like renting out animals.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like, you watch a movie and obviously everything is intentional. Everything was done. Like, I think it's easy to watch or consume something and forget that like everything had to be done by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like those credits at the end of the movie are so long for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, you watch, like you watch a movie and there's like the characters in the movie get something from a food truck. Somebody had to come up with a fake food truck name and make a fake logo. And somebody had to like embroider the fake hats for the fake food truck that had that logo on them.
Right.
There's like somebody's responsible for everything. And when it comes to like, animal handlers or baby wranglers or whatever is, somebody's got to do it. And those people are often overlooked because, that's the dirty work.
Right. And you kind of just take those things for granted. Like you look at the actors and maybe the sets and the special effects and you think, wow, they really put a lot of work into this movie, but you don't really take into account a lot of the smaller things, like the food.
Yeah.
You could also be a food stylist, and it's your job to make food for movies that looks good on camera and that can last in the shooting environment for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
So obviously if you put certain foods out in the sun or in any other environments, or they sit out long enough during shooting, they're going to start to look bad. They're going to start to stink. So what a food stylist does is sometimes they make up fake foods basically, or like prop foods that look like the real thing, but they are not going to go bad or start to look unappealing or anything like that.
Yeah.
On the set of the movie.
I do know that in some instances, if ice cream is being used in a movie, they just use mashed potatoes.
Exactly. Yes, that's a good example. So somebody's got to style the food.
Yeah.
Next up, there's a Foley artist, which I feel like people are more familiar with. But this is the person that creates sound effects. Because obviously when you film a movie, most of the sound effects that you hear are done in post. A lot of people, I think, don't consider that because when you're filming like a scene with two actors, really what you're picking up are like their voices, their performances. Somebody holding a piece of paper or doing some kind of activity that creates sound is not going to be picked up by like a boom mic or what have you. So a lot of these noises are added in post. And there's a video going around viral a while back where like Hugh Jackman in Logan, where he's running through the forest. Like obviously on the camera, they captured that scene of him running and everything and all well and good, but they didn't capture the sound of him grunting while he was running or anything like that. You can't practically capture that. So he got him back in studio and he's over there in front of the mic like, huh, 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 grunts and any kind of passive noises like that. That's all added in post. You'd be amazed like what a movie would sound like or not sound like if you didn't have all of these sound effects added in post.
It would be bad.
And the art of this is that you have to replicate the weirdest sounds. Like stuff sliding across a table or, I don't know, somebody in the water. Like you have to come up with all these weird, somebody getting stabbed. Like how do you make the sound of somebody getting their eyes gouged out in a movie,
Well, also this idea of exaggerating sound effects in order to create a compelling viewing experience.
Right.
Some things don't exactly make a lot of sound, but if you have this intense action, you want a kind of corresponding intense sound to come with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like punching somebody. Punching somebody isn't always like, obviously it makes a sound, but it's not always going to be like the super loud, crisp, kind of like heavy sound. Sometimes it just kind of sounds like sometimes you got to take that 2x4 wooden plank and smack the fuck out of a watermelon with it,
right,
to get that intended effect.
That's a good example. Yeah, during a fight scene, like on the cameras, you're going to capture the two actors fighting each other, but then in post they have to add like the grunting sounds. They have to add like the punching. Like you'll have a Foley artist like hit a slab of meat or something like that to get that good punching sound. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty interesting job. And just like the art behind it of making up all of these weird sound effects with like practical props and stuff. Very strange.
Yeah, it's cool.
And lastly, you could be a creature performer. So mocap, motion capture, that's where they put the balls all over your suit and everything, and then they track your motion into a digital environment. Well, in movies with special effects where they have creatures, basically like non-human creatures, entities, I guess, in video games too. But they can't just make their emotions up from scratch. Somebody's got to act it out. So like King Kong or something, for example. Like they didn't just frame by frame illustrate everything King Kong did in these movies. They had some actor do all of his motions and, in a way, emotions, because you have to get very physical, obviously.
And there's also like, honestly, and there's also guys that like for practical effects just specialize in like being creatures. Like Doug Jones plays Abe in Hellboy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like his whole thing he does.
Well,
he also played the fish guy in Shape of Water as well.
And he's weird looking, so it helps.
Yeah, exactly. And so some guys just recognize that they're really good at playing non-human characters and running with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, there's definitely like a need for practical and CG. Like like the CG, it's like the fucking Planet of the Apes. Those are all people.
Right.
Doing the movements that the monkeys are doing on screen.
Mm-hmm. But if there's some kind of beast in your movie that needs to act like a beast and move like a beast and fucking swing his arms around and shit, somebody's got to act that out. That somebody could be you. That
is true. Somebody's got to do it. That could be you.
And on that note, this has been Weird Jobs. We'll see you next time on the next episode of The Long Couch.
See ya.
Bye.